So we are going to keep this shorter than usual. It's not going to go the full hour because we're going to be focusing on one specific thing.
And it's a very cool thing, and a thing that people have had a lot of questions about since it was discovered.
So, well, it's been, okay. So the thing we're talking about is the ability to import your own custom 2D images on PC. This is specific to PC. It's something that has been in Project Spark for forever, and people have only recently started kind of finding what we'll call workarounds to it. So, our team has been quietly watching, and it finally took this last nudge for us to say, okay, you know what? It's in there. It's always been in there, and we anticipate it always to be there. So let's show you how to do it. Very crucial thing to know is this is only going to work on PC. It's not going to work on Xbox because you need to have access to your Project Spark files.
Yep, very important. We're going to be leaving the game in order to do this. So if that's a scary thing, then turn away now because we will be using the scary place of File Explorer.
Yeah, so why don't you start out with just the first ingredient in here.
Very easiest thing to do.
Yeah,
okay.
It's just make an assembly. And usually what I do is I just have a logic cube.
That is what I'm going for.
Do that. If you are on Xbox, you don't have Project Spark on a PC, then you can ask someone on PC to maybe, import an image for you and share it with you however you want.
So to explain, while I'm doing this, why do I need to save out an assembly? Why do I need to create an assembly?
Yeah, well that'll be. I'll show that when we get into the file structure. But there's basically an image that's shared out when you share an assembly, and that is the image that you're going to be replacing. Now we are going to go over exactly. Microsoft has a service agreement, terms of use, code of conduct, and we are going to go over exactly what that is and what that means with regards to this, because you should know how to and how not to use this, because if you use this incorrectly, there is a chance for you to be for your levels to be taken down and for you to potentially be banned from Project Spark. That's in extreme cases. We're sure most of you won't use it, but we're gonna go over that just so you know all of that as well. So replace me with image. Cool. Mm-hmm. All right, I'm going to take over from you now because...
Do it, Drab.
I'm going to go into file structuring. All right, so...
And that was how to do an assembly, ladies and gentlemen.
So what Thomas did is he created this assembly. And so he went through the steps of creating this new assembly and saving it with the name and a picture and just saving it. And that's all you really need to do. Now we are going to actually shut down Project Spark.
This is the scariest thing we've ever done.
Yeah.
I hope we don't.
Bam! All right, so we are outside of Project Spark. And let's go into...
They're not going to be able to... So, let me...
Oh, no, it's okay. I'll move it. We're all good. So...
They didn't see you click on the File Explorer.
Oh my God.
I know.
How do you open up your folders in Project Spark?
I don't know. This is the first time we've ever shown it, man.
All right. So here's how you get to the Project Spark folder. You go to C drive, you go to users, you find your username on here. Obviously, this is a shared computer, so it has lots of people who shared it.
We'll do this twice because Brian's going to go really fast because he's done it like 1,000 times. So
we'll go to DAC demo. Now, if you're on Windows 8, Windows 10, you may or may not see this thing called App Data. If you don't, go into View and click on Hidden Items. Make sure that's turned on so you can view App Data. You click on that. Then you go to Local. You go to Packages. And then what you find is something that is
Microsoft.Dakota.
Yep, Microsoft.Dakota, which is usually challenging for me to find. There we go. Sweet. So Microsoft.Dakota, then a bunch of things there. This is actually the Project Spark folder.
Funny, it has date modified is the release date.
Yeah.
A bunch of them.
So then you go to local state, because this is locally what's happening on the computer. And then you go to Dakota. and then you're in your final place.
Yeah. So this is probably a good place to do it. If you're going to be in here all the time, this is probably the spot to create a shortcut for. And so you can just click and then it goes immediately to it because this is all your UGC data.
Yeah, exactly. So this section here is the section that we've kind of publicly exposed. And so we actually have no issue with you going into this section of the file structure, the foldering structure in Project Spark, and putting in and taking out stuff. This is not, so what really counts as a violation of Microsoft's service agreements is anything that disassembles, decompiles, decrypts, hacks, emulates, exploits, or reverse engineers stuff inside of our engine.
That is quite the list.
Yeah, so with these, you can access your assemblies, which we have quite a few of those. Replace me with image, you'll see that's the one we just added. We'll get to that soon. You can access your brains, which is the same thing. It's stuff you save in your brain gallery. You can access your levels. So a really cool thing is if you want to privately share a level with someone, here's where you find your level file and you just send it over to them. They drop it in here. We do this all the time at Team Dakota. We will. This is how, like when we were making Conker's Big Reunion, I think it's this one right here. We would copy it, drag it over to the other person's folder, and that's how we'd share it back and forth quickly between people without sharing it publicly. So that's a good way to do that. But all of this stuff, we purposely put all this into its own little folder so you have access to that, and we don't consider kind of anything going on in this folder as any sort of exploit or reverse engineering. So let's go into assemblies, and we're going to go to replace me with image. So the only thing that really you need to care about is this icon here. It's a PNG file. That means it can be transparent or not. And so I want to replace this with a HUD element for making a cool first-person shooter. So I made something really quickly within Photoshop, like in a few minutes. So it's not good. So
well, let's open up. Let's look at the image that we're importing.
Yeah, that's true. So here's just what the image looks like before we import it. It's really basic. But the important thing to know is, it doesn't matter what size your image is that you replace this one with. The only important thing is that you need to have the image that you want to replace this icon also needs to be called icon, and it needs to be a PNG file. Those are the only two requirements. It needs to be called icon, the exact same way this is called icon. It needs to be a PNG file. The size of that image, it's whatever size you want it to be. Keeping in mind the maximum size allowed in a Project Spark level is 10 megabytes. So if you have one image that's 10 megabytes, then you're not going to be able to put much else in your level in Project Spark. So just remember that. So I'm going to delete this current icon and replace it with this one right here. And that is all I really need to do there. So then I go launch back up Project Spark. And we'll probably close it down again and just get back in there again. But now I go in to create. I go to the third-person shooter stream level,
which has now become kind of everything. Well, we kept it third person so far. Now we're gonna make it first person, I guess, with the HUD.
Yes. So this guy, I'm actually gonna turn this guy's brain off. Because I need to make a first-person HUD. So we're just gonna create this guy right here. We are going to give him a first-person shooter brain. We're gonna get rid of all of his UI stuff. And the only thing we're going to add in here is do display. We go into the gallery picker. We go over to assemblies. We go to what was called replace me.
Oh, that's right. The name will stay on the
assembly. So replace me with image. And you'll already see the preview is different now. The preview is the image that we imported. So we click on that. And we are going to display this at screen position 0.
It's too funny that it kept that name. Do you get the opportunity to rename it now? Or did you name it with whatever the image is going to be?
I forget.
Can't remember.
But anyways, we go and test. There we go. Now
we definitely
now you want to take off the border.
Yeah, let me go right there.
There we go. So there we go. Now you can see kind of this like really basic. Whoops. Hey there, guys. So you can see this really basic kind of HUD like thing that I have created.
But what's really cool, right? That's a single image being displayed too. So anybody, so I think there was an early world that had like a Halo HUD type of game, and he used all these different icons and all this stuff layered on to get it to look right. But he was using, I think there's a 128 display limit for images. There's workarounds for that, but he was using quite a big chunk of that to get in and make that image. So this is a single image, and it does it all there for you.
Yeah. Bit of facts about this image I'm using. This image is 1080p, so it's 1920 pixels by 1080 pixels. So you can import an image that's the full width of your screen, and it looks pretty good. And as long as you save it, and this is kind of outside of where our tutorial goes, but there are so many different file or just image creation and editing softwares out there that we're not going to tell you what to use, whether it's Paint or Photoshop or what have you. Use whatever comes best, but the most important part is making sure it's compressed down to a small file size. The smaller the file size, the more images you can use.
Yeah. Well, I would argue there is one more important part about that, is you want to make sure it's an original image that you are importing. As soon as you decide not to use an image that you did not create, you're gonna have a problem.
Yeah, so let's get into the things that put this on. Basically, the things that put you on the hard road, the bad road, the things that put your train off the track. What are the things that we will moderate?
That was awesome. Yeah. Like, how many is he gonna go to?
So, all right, in our service agreement, we kind of have some basic things that you obviously need to follow with importing your images, and that's no inappropriate content. We're going to be really strict with this, just like we're strict with people who upload inappropriate content now, who will get moderated.
Particularly with this method, like straight out, like if we see something that's inappropriate, like immediate ban. There's not a question, life ban. It's we won't be. Yeah. There's no like, I'm sorry, and it's just done. Because we cannot afford to have that happen. And now that we're opening and showing this to you guys, we are going to be really strict about that.
So keep that in mind. No inappropriate content. So that means, basically, you know what inappropriate content is. So just make sure you don't use any of that. Nothing that is you put in there that's harmful to others. So we're going to also take things that are, likenesses of people or things that refer to specific people as bad things that might be moderated. And the other thing on top of that is if you basically import copyrighted content, you are using direct copyrighted content. It is different than making your own homage to copyrighted content with Project Spark assets. This is the first time where you will have the ability to import your own, fully copyrighted content from other properties, and that's going to be moderated as well, because if it's that direct copyrighted content, then that's something that that legal action could potentially be taken if it's ever found on you. So just keep that in mind. Really keep it to your own the stuff you're creating yourself.
Yeah. I will say the one assets they can use, though, is if they want to like create a scene or a picture in Spark and then take it out and then crop it but use our assets to do that. That would be totally okay.
Yeah, totally.
Because you guys have access to all those assets.
That's actually
and that's a good strategy, I think, for people who want to do this.
That's actually what Biz 2006 1986 did. They created things that looked like Mario characters inside of Project Spark. With Project Spark assets, then brought them outside of Project Spark, removed the bordering around them, and then brought them in as transparent images just so they could use them as UI elements. So that kind of thing, that's totally fine. Just don't bring in exact copyrighted content, because that will be moderated as well.
Not to mention that is where legal action against you could actually happen, and that is not anything we can
Yeah,
and that wouldn't even skip us. They could go right to the creator.
That's true. Yeah.
Yep.
So just keep that in mind. Use it at risk. But if you do just import an image, say like this HUD that I created, something like this, then you're fine. That's totally fine with us. We will be a-okay with that. People have already started doing that, and we've kind of said, okay. In the past,
we know there's tons of potential here, right?
In the
like
past,
full games made out of these kind of things.
And we've been silent in the past, but we have sort of, ever since people started doing it, we kind of consciously looked at that and decided, we could at that time remove this ability for people to use this sort of workaround with assembly pictures. We could remove that so people can import their own assets. And we decided, no, we'll keep quiet on this. We'll see what happens. And as more and more people started playing around with this, we realized how cool it is. And I just want to exit to show kind of the most recent one from Mescad, actually.
That's right, and it's shared.
Yeah, that's right. So we saw this one just, I guess it was last week, initially. And so this is, Mescad basically took this to the next level and was able to take a bunch of 2D assets that he created and then brought in using these assembly images, and he was able to create this really awesome looking sprite-based 2D side-scroller.
Yep. And the main thing is when he did all these, he made so that the images in the back aren't his, but they're royalty-free, non-copyrighted assets that he was able to, the sky and the mountain and that, and then he has this really cool like offset, so it kind of creates that parallax.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty sweet.
And I love how you can pick up that hat.
Yep.
And the thing that's most amazing to me is there's actually idle animations. That fact that there's idle animations is crazy.
Mm-hmm. And it's really so. This is like a brand new horizon for Spark, and people are figuring out the best ways to use it. And it's really cool because he has a developer blog on this game, and he's going through like all the iterative processes on like what he finds that works. So he originally, every pixel in that character was getting displayed separately and was its own image, but it slowed down a lot as he was trying to do all these lines and wanted to switch between how it was animating. So he ended up doing each thing now, each frame or whatever, is actually a different image itself. So he swaps the character out completely as opposed to like making up pixels. But depends on what you're trying to go for.
Yeah. Now getting to questions. So someone asked a question about Photoshop. That's just one example of something you can use to create images. That's image creation outside of Spark. You can use whatever you want. I don't believe Photoshop is free though. You can use MS Paint. Can you change your screenshots of your levels this way? No. Levels are different. So let's jump back out. I'm going to shut it down again, and we can kind of. All right. So max resolution of images. There is no maximum resolution. It's basically the maximum is your file size can only be a maximum of 10 megabytes. So keep that in mind when you're saving images. So going to the most interesting thing we've ever shown on stream, which is the folder. All right. So assemblies. Again, just going through here, the icon, that's the thing that you want to replace. Now, here's where, so there's this great community app called SparkShare or whatever. SparkShare?
It's SparkShare.
Okay. I don't know why I was like, no, it's not SparkShare. It's something else that I totally forgot. But so there's this app called SparkShare that Psycho Killer this community member has made. That's really amazing. It basically allows people to take their assemblies from this assembly folder and share them on this web app. And he's basically using his own knowledge of the same file structure by going to assemblies. And he's reading data from these and then displaying the image. So in terms of that, we worked with him on that. And reading data is also okay with this stuff. So reading data, for instance, getting the name of this by reading, I think it's this AST file, but by reading that, and so you could publicly display it somewhere else, that's okay. What's not okay is it's the part where it does become basically a decryption or exploit or reverse engineering, is by going into one of these files and changing around stuff. That do not do, because it will most likely break things within your version of Project Spark, and you'll have to probably uninstall it fully to get it back to working order, and it probably won't do the things that you hope it could do. Like, you know, if you were to find, like, for instance, oh man, if I just change this 0 to 1, I get everything for free. If you do that, that will break everything. So please don't do that. Really, the only thing we're talking about here, and the only thing you should focus on here, is just switching in and out this icon image. That's really the only thing that you should be doing. But we can do this with any one of them. So like this brute icon, this is this is when I was doing the RPG stuff.
Yeah, that's a long time ago. That's funny.
So like I could switch this out, and like for instance I could go into some image editing program, and
you could do like a circle just if you want.
Yeah, I can make exactly. I could do circle, or I could just remove this whole background right here and then replace it again, and then I have him with a transparent background. And so I think the rest of the time we will just answer questions from people in chat, because I think there's a lot of questions that you could possibly have with regards to this.
So good question already. So about cloning an assembly directly in the folder. At this point, you can't do that. You have to actually go in game and make an assembly.
Yep.
And then you get a slot for an icon. So yeah, if you're intending to bring in 100 images, then you'll have to go and make 100 assemblies to replace those with.
Yeah. Again, this is what we call a workaround. This obviously isn't something...
Yeah, obviously that's not a great user experience, but this is not really meant to be a user experience to begin with.
Right,
so.
Exactly. But this is just us kind of giving our blessing for you guys to use this, because I know there was a heated discussion a lot on our forums and elsewhere, just a lot of people saying, well, this is really cool, but this seems like I would be violating something, and then other people said no, but everyone just needed us to weigh in, so here we are weighing in and saying, you have our blessing, but use with care, and just know the services agreement.
Yep, use with care is the best thing we've said.
What about parodies? So again, just if you're doing parodies, things like that, just don't use exact copyrighted content. Don't use images that are directly from something else. You could make your own fan art of something. That's totally fine. You could, do enough manipulation to an image where it becomes your own. That gets into that also is outside of, our purview. That just goes into your understanding of what constitutes as copyrighted content, not copyrighted content. This is, you are going to have to navigate some waters with this stuff. If you do want to go the route of using content elsewhere, you'll need to know a lot. If you just want this so you can you love making your own images and you just want to put them in Project Spark, or you want to, you love making your own HUD elements, want to put them in Project Spark, totally fine. You'll have no problem whatsoever. It gets really tricky when you get to the point of like I want to make a Mario ripoff game that is using a guy called
logo.
like Pario. That gets to confusing stuff.
Yeah, I suggest don't do that.
Is there any chance you'll get a non-workaround version of custom images? We're not really ready to talk about that, or the ability to bring in other stuff besides images. This is more of just, there was a lot of discussion around this, and this is something that we intend to keep there, and intend to keep this kind of quote-unquote workaround. So we are kind of giving our blessing, and also by giving our blessing, showing you how you can do it if you have Project Spark on a PC.
Yeah. As far as game jams or competitions like that going forward, we will whether they are allowed or not would explicitly get said in the rules.
Yes.
For sure. Judging, I would think, from the fact that our Xbox user base wouldn't be able to access it. Well, I don't know. They get Kinect though, so maybe not. Maybe it's fair game that everybody can do it.
Two good questions about importing Project Spark images from like Google or screenshots of things running in Project Spark. Those are totally fine because I mean you're using Project Spark. You're using Project Spark copyrighted content every time you use Project Spark. So by importing Project Spark copyrighted content, that's okay.
Yep.
Totally okay. So will this nullify the 2D icons back? Oh, we're keeping the 2D icons
Nope.
back there. It's still a cool thing. Obviously, for people who have PC who've just been waiting to make their own stuff, this opens up this just opened up the box for you completely.
It would be a really cool level that somebody should do is their own 2D icons pack, and it has 128 brand new primitive icons.
Yeah, you could
put it out for everybody to use.
That's actually a really great idea.
Mm-hmm.
People can do that. That's a really great idea, honestly. That you can actually kind of use this to create new icon packs for people to use in their games. But of course, just make sure they're like your own, and you're not just bringing in like all these icons from some other game or property.
And once again, they have to be your stuff for sure. So of course you can make things that are inspired by other games.
Yeah, I mean, like for instance, the UI I'm using here is inspired by Halo, or the HUD I'm using is inspired by Halo. Actually, it wasn't. It was actually inspired by something else I saw more so than Halo, but I could still say Halo inspired. It's close enough to Halo inspired. So that'll do it for us. We are going to have also kind of. We anticipate a lot more questions coming from this. We're going to have to just continue to have discussion around this. We're kind of happy that the cat's out of the bag on this. We needed something to kind of push us to finally say, yep, it's cool to use. So we're kind of happy about that, honestly. And we'll have written information posted on Thursday on our website.
Yep.
So
one thing
really
that'd be cool
excited.
too, if anybody starts experimenting with this and they're just trying new things, let us know on the forums, because I think it's really cool, and I think that's how the whole community grows, right? Is they see all the different ways that people are going to use this feature. So definitely have a conversation about it and make it public so we can all learn from what you're trying to do and accomplish with it.
Create your game as you play? Any Spark can do it. Spark, activate the portals.